Morning, this is Brian. Today is Tuesday, June 14th, 2022, and I am in Penasquitos Canyon Preserve in the Rancho Penasquitos area of San Diego. And today I want to do a spotlight on trees video. And today's spotlight focuses on something you wouldn't normally consider finding this close to the coast. We are talking about honey mesquites. Prosopis glandulosa variety torreyana. So this is honey mesquite. It is a winter-deciduous large shrub to small thicket-forming tree in the Pea family, the Fabaceae. So what happens is during the spring, summer, and early fall, it's nice, green, and verdant with these bipinnately compound leaves that look like they're pinnately compound. And when I say bipinnately compound, is that they're feather-shaped and they're divided into leaflets. So what looks like a leaf here with a series of a bunch of leaflets is actually a subdivision of a greater leaf. So they're fork-shaped bipinnately compound. So you can see here, this is the rachis, the leaf stalk of the compound leaf. Then it branches into branches twice, or forks right here, and has a set of leaflets on one side and a set of leaflets on the other side. And the leaflets are very narrow, light green colored, almost willow-like, and these plants do kind of have a somewhat of a willow-like appearance from a distance. So that's where the similarities will pretty much end, besides having a slightly willowy structure. So honey mesquite, as you can see here, this is a very prime example of a honey mesquite actually. Forms these often very dense thickets when they get larger and older. And from what I've read, they can send their tap roots way down deep into the soil to access groundwater. So these are commonly far interior and desert dwelling plants, typically. But we do have a nice population here in San Diego, here at Rancho Penasquitos in Penasquitos Canyon. And that's where I'm filming this, so really not that far from the ocean. So again, bipinnately compound leaves that are forked, and they have these ferocious thorns or spines, very ferocious. So if you fall into one of these, it's probably gonna hurt. So trying to bushwhack through this is not going to be fun. So when I try to show you the bark, I'm going to have to probably find another specimen that's a little smaller and not so insanely thick. But so you can see they form these very low-growing, dense thickets. So this plant kind of walks the line between shrub and tree. At first sight, some people might mistake this for a pepper tree, which is non-native because of the finely light green foliage. But a couple of the salient features of this plant, besides the monster thorns, can attest to this not being a pepper tree. The honey-ridden flowers are in these catkin-like clusters of the honey mesquite. You can see these are the flowers. Go from white to yellowish as they age. So this is a flower. This is an entire inflorescence right here of honey mesquite. So they go from whitish to yellowish as they age. I'm trying to see if there's a fragrance to them. But that's the flower of the inflorescence of the beautiful honey mesquite. And then, after the flowers are gone, they develop these long seed pods. These are actual pods. These are legumes. And each of these little wavy little sections has a seed in it. Now, honey mesquite seed pods are supposed to be edible. I've never tried eating it before. Never tried eating the mesquite pod, but I believe the Native Americans used to eat them. Or ground them, dry them and ground them. I'm not sure how it works, so I wouldn't try it unless you know how to do it, but this plant was used by the Native Americans, and it's also a good indicator of groundwater, so there's probably some decent amount of subsurface water here. And yes, these do have a slight, very pleasant fragrance when they're white. This is a white inflorescence, so these ones have aged and are going to turn into seed pods. But it's also a very good nectar plant for bees and pollinating insects and animals. So to have this in your yard, you'll have a lot of pollinators. And it is a very pleasant looking tree, shrub, whatever you want to call it. It kind of walks the line between shrub and tree. Not that it really matters. But eventually the seed pods I was talking about, they will eventually mature, brown, and dry up, and eventually the seeds will be released into the soil. To grow the honey mesquite from seed would probably be quite difficult, because I believe the seeds would need to be scarified. And a lot of times where these shrubs and trees are found, washes most of the time, below mid-elevation deserts, I believe below 5,000 feet, but I'm not sure how high they actually can go up. So they usually grow in these washes and canyons, whereby torrential rains will wash through the area, and the seeds will be bounced and scraped over rocks and sand, thereby allowing their seed coats to be penetrable to water, and thus why able to germinate. So that's one way these shrubs and trees will colonize an area, is by floodwaters carrying the seeds, and thus by scarifying them, allowing them to be able to germinate, where their roots can grow fast and deep enough to reach the soil that has water in it. So this area is a relatively flat little plain in between the walls of Penasquitos Canyon, so I imagine this area does occasionally flood out and probably has subsurface water. That's why these look very luscious over here. They're actually very attractive plants. And our variety, again, is variety torreyana. The other, another variety glandulosa, I believe, is a larger, more arborescent, in other words, more of a tree-sized variety, and it grows further east. This one's pretty common here in the Southwest, especially here in California. I'm not sure where the varieties divide up, but our variety is variety torreyana. So this is, again, Prosopis glandulosa variety torreyana. Absolutely magnificent, beautiful shrub slash tree. Like I said, it kind of walks the line between shrub and tree. It's probably about 20 feet tall. It's as tall as a tree, but it does have a very rich, multi-trunked stature. So if we're living in dry climates, as long as you can give it a good soil profile where it can reach water, then you should be able to grow this cold tolerant and heat tolerant. So now, I was talking about the leaves, I talked about the flowers and what the seed pods look like. Now I was going to look at like the twigs, the branches, the bark. So a lot of the younger twigs on this year's current growth here are green on the underside and kind of reddish on the upper side. And then they eventually grade away to these grayish green, eventually gray branches that are relatively smooth. And then we have a furrowed bark. I'm going to try to see if I can find a way to access the trunk of this without getting my clothes ripped to shreds, because this does have some mature bark on it, and voila, here we go. This is the mature bark on the older trunks and branches. As you can see here, it's kind of stringy, kind of furrowed, light grayish color. And here's a younger, more of a sapling specimen. Unless some of these might be root clones, I believe that these also spread by root clones. I believe these are probably root shoots, probably from this shrub here. These, I don't know if these are root clones or not. As you can see, they start off very much as shrubs, very much in shrub form. Like I said, for the most part, you're going to need to go to more far interior, like Inland Empire, Riverside County, and then in the deserts as well, to really see these. But if you know how to get here to Penasquitos Canyon, it's off of, you can get off on Interstate 15 at Mercy Road, and then you go on Black Mountain Road, and then you turn into Canyon Side Community Park. You park there, you walk about a quarter of a mile up the trail. Once we start getting into the lush cottonwood and willow forest over there, then you'll see these bright green shrubs. Well, during the winter time, they'll be leafless. As I said, these are winter deciduous. In the autumn, their leaves will pale off as a yellowish color. By December or early January, basically leafless, but then you'll still see the thorns and the pods giving away that these are honey mesquites. So not a super common find in San Diego, but Anza-Borrego Desert State Park and some of the other desert communities, this will become a much more prominent figure in the local flora. But to find it here in San Diego per se is actually a really cool find. All these bright green shrubs, these are all honey mesquites. All of these, bright green, all of these are honey mesquites. From a distance, they might look, like I said, they might look like those Brazilian pepper trees. And then there was the large one I was just visiting right there. But, so check the description for more of a comprehensive range, but especially here in the nearby Colorado desert, and also lower parts of the Mojave Desert, you find these plants along desert streams that periodically get flooded. And those periodically flooded streams are where they are more likely to access collected groundwater. Like I said, they can send their roots very deep, and you can tell a lot about the health of the ecosystem by the presence of this plant. It's lush and green. The water table is high enough for it to reach. However, if they're all dying off, it means the groundwater is being depleted and the ecosystem is unhealthy. So there you have it. Prosopis glandulosa variety torreyana. Beautiful, hardy, gorgeous mesquite. Wood's often used for your mesquite grills, for your mesquite barbecue. That's where mesquite barbecue comes from. But me, I don't like to chop these down, I just like to enjoy them. So this is it, Spotlight on Trees, honey mesquite. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on another episode.